Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time.
Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm Edmond Chizito, your host. On Spectrum tonight, should Uganda achieve development at the cost of the environment? Uganda continues to face severe challenges as it pushes forward with the agenda of national development. One of the key challenges being faced is the lack of adequate resources, making it extremely crucial to exploit available resources in a sustainable manner. Under the doctrine of sustainable development, it is envisaged that resources must be used to meet human needs, but this exploitation must take into consideration the need to preserve the environment. The population in Uganda is rapidly growing, and this is having an impact on the environment, evidenced by the mass deforestation, destruction of wetlands and other eco-sensitive areas for cultivation and settlement. Policy makers, political leaders, and implementers of policies have often clashed about the value of sustainable development. Some leaders have argued that it would be wrong to preserve a rainforest when the population urgently needs land for settlement and cultivation. Sustainable development will this coming Thursday, be a central point of discussion at a high-level National Sustainable Development Forum to be convened by the National Environment Management Authority, or NEMA. This forum comes at a time when the debate on the proposed degazetting of Murabira forest for sugarcane growing is on, with President Museveni remaining firm in his position that parts of the forest which are degraded be cleared and given to the Meta Group to increase their cane production capacity. So tonight we ask, should this country pursue economic development even at the cost of its environment? Our guests tonight, Mr. Eugene Murabira, Director Policy Planning and Information at NEMA. You're most welcome, Mr. Murabira.
Thank you.
We are also joined by Mr. Arnold Ayazika, Director Environmental Monitoring and Compliance at NEMA as well. You're most welcome, Mr. Ayazika.
Good evening, listeners.
We also have Mr. Charles Rwomushana. He's a Spectrum panelist, also an individual keen on environment matters. You're most welcome.
Good evening, viewers and listeners.
Viewers, because we are on the internet, you can download a copy of this discussion and listen at your leisure of YouTube or of the Radio 1 website. Mr. Murabira, broadly speaking, when you talk about sustainable development, what are some of the things that one needs to look at?
A little background to that, and maybe later a bit of background on the forum, which you just alluded to, the National Sustainable Development Forum, which we are holding on Thursday through Friday. In 1972, in Stockholm, in Sweden, there was a big summit, a big conference of world leaders at that time concerned about the deteriorating state of the human environment, who discussed how we can improve the state of the environment but continue pursuing development. Their feeling was that we really had to balance the two. And your issue which you raise, it is important that development and environmental conservation, for that matter, are humanized and move in the same direction, move together. Well, for the definition, sustainable development, simply, and from that forum I've talked about the World Summit of 1972, was defined as development that caters for the needs of the present generation without undermining the ability or capacity of future generations to meet their own needs. So typically, you must be able to develop, but you should not undermine the base which supports your or drives your development. There has been a modernization of that definition, and currently we really think sustainable development is that pattern of development that balances the three big pillars: economy, social, and environmental objectives. It's like a house. If you have a house on three pillars, if one squeezes the other, they are not harmonized, they are not moving together, the house will collapse. And if you want to develop but undermine the important pillar of the environment, the economy sooner than later will collapse. and it will be in a zero sum.
All right, and how do you strike the balance? How do you find the fine line?
Well, there are clear guidelines. We have standards, for instance, we have norms, and this has been a long time of development of the thinking. For instance, you talked about forests. There must be a relationship between how much forest you can have and the various resources. We have populations living in different places. You wouldn't like to take away forest because you want to develop, and yet you know the forest is the source of water, is the source of various things which maybe not directly contribute money but support livelihoods. And what is development about? Development is about providing for people. You wouldn't be undermining that base and maybe wishing that if the water goes away, then you can develop so much that you will bring mineral water to all the villages or something, just as an example. So you have to be able to balance, know in your mind how much development, which for you now you seem to look at it as development is destruction of the environment. It shouldn't be. Development can balance, and we see it in many countries. Actually, some of the very developed countries like Japan have 80% forest cover. How do you explain that?
Japan, and it's a very small country.
Yeah, why haven't they cut down all the forests to develop? Look at Norway, for instance, and this is a very good partner country we are dealing with these days. It has quite a lot of forest cover, but it's quite developed. So what are the relationships? They have other natural resources, they've maintained them, and it is the thinking and appreciation that actually the environment is not an enemy of development. It is the base, it is the other accompanying pillar. We have to move these things in the same direction, keep them together.
All right, Mr. Ayazika, we have a forest called Murabira. We have people who need to use it and other places, people who want to grow sugarcane and other things. Why should we, keep a forest? Why don't we plant another forest somewhere? Same acreage, we give away this forest, or part of it.
Well, I think, like many people have explained, there are many other areas where sugarcane can grow. Murabira is a very important forest. As you see, we're now building the Bujagali Dam. Murabira provides, you could say, provides the water that is to feed Bujagali. And Murabira has a lot of very important indigenous species of plants. Okay, some of them may be not found anywhere, and which are very important. And therefore, really there will be need for a critical debate and balance. Why do you think Murabira must go for sugarcane, and why not sugarcane elsewhere? Okay. Yeah.
Well, but the factory is nearby.
But at the same time, there is land elsewhere close to the factory. So why go for Murabira?
Mr. Rwomushana.
No, it's very interesting that we have technical people about this, and I think my day is made.
Go on.
Because I have the facts on Murabira on record, and let's now have a balance.
Go on.
The balance is, when you read the rate of the President, June 29th, 2006, to the Honorable Minister of Lands.
Yes.
Paragraph 3 says, however, before government can take a decision on the matter, HE the President wants the environmental implications to be studied.
Yes.
This is conveyed to the President's directive so that you cause the study of the environmental implications of changing the use function from forest to sugarcane production of the 7,000 hectares of Murabira forest.
Yes.
So what the President has done in this letter, you've seen it.
Well, he wrote it 5 years ago.
Yeah, but
recently he said he's going to go to war.
No, this is the letter.
He wrote it 5 years ago. Now he says he's ready for war. Go on.
No, we are above Nasari.
Go on.
Yeah.
No. Let's get it clear. 2006 he wrote a letter saying he wants an EIA. We've not seen the EIA, but now he says he's ready to go to war for this forest.
Yeah.
Should we take his words 5 years ago, his words now?
What I take is what is official.
Go on.
Yes. What I don't take a politician's rhetoric. Because he's both a politician,
let's get this clear.
and that because it's you has taken it there. He's both a politician and a head of state. And as a head of state, he wrote says, I won't take a decision
5
on
years
this,
ago.
I won't take a decision. Yeah, that's when the problem started.
Go on.
Yeah. I won't take a decision on this unless the technical people have given me the document. And I agree with you, but of course you made me rush. Now, the Murabira, the Meta Group says we need to increase production from 55,000 tons to 110 tons. Large scale production generation.
Whatever, we've had those arguments. Let's go to the point.
You
let's
or
skip
the listeners?
Go on.
Who has had the arguments? You or the listeners?
Go on. Let's skip it.
Generation of 12 megawatts of power, 350 jobs with income of 3 billion, transporters would earn 5 billion, infrastructure investment and roads 4 billion, and tax at 11 billion. Now, then the environmentalists say no, we have this, but the remaining forest will be difficult to protect. Water retention and catchment for Lake Choga will be affected. Soil erosion, silt deposits in rivers as One, Musumia and Lake Choga. We have 9 bird species not anywhere else in Uganda. We have 1 bird species not found anywhere in the world. Difficult to stop encroachment of remaining forest. Carbon sequestration.
Mr. Rwomushana.
I'm remaining with 1. Carbon sequestration in Kampala, Jinja, calibration with heavy industrial activity. The said portion captures 3.9 million tons of carbon dioxide at $81 per ton of carbon would lose $316 million. Now, so these are the facts, the reasons for the environment. The other ones are the reasons for having the sugar cane off. Now, you are the technical person. Where would you go? Which one outweighs the other? That's the point I was trying to drive at, notwithstanding his inconvenience.
Let's try to be a gentleman, Mr.
So now, where
try to speak like a sober man, Mr. Murabira. Let's talk about the EIA. It seems the EIA was never written for Murabira.
Well, actually, my colleague is and was in charge of the EIA process at that time. He will tell you, I don't think we have an EIA done on this subject. It was never pursued that much. So, Mr. Waiswa?
No, to date, no EIA has been undertaken, and it would be the basis for the decision whether the Gazette or not the Gazette. It will be able to provide us all the scientific, social, and economic, information as far as evidence is concerned. So, to date, no environmental impact assessment has been undertaken.
Why did you do it?
But having said that, Mr. Waiswa, having said that, we had other studies by interested Ugandans, on the economics of the whole argument, and we have on record. I can use the figures Mr. Rwomushana gives. For instance, Mr. Waiswa talks about the power from Bujagali. All of you appreciate the problem we have with water in Lake Victoria and the shortfalls in electricity generation. You talk about 12 megawatts. How much would you lose if we don't have this forest and the lake levels have gone down? I think you'll have huge amounts of megawatts lost. So if we are talking about a balance.
Actually, I have that one here. If you see
Go on, Mr. Mura.
I think the argument really still stands. I know the economic valuation. Incidentally, I'm an environmental economist. So this is the kind of food I eat every day. The evaluation was done. Clearly, the net present worth, and this looks at several years into the future of having a sugarcane facility and this kind of expansion against the forest option couldn't just be. I may not have the figures here, but I can give you the figures.
But those are figures. Sugar would give $45 million and then the forest would give much higher.
Much higher.
More than half.
And it is a systematic evaluation we do. We have the methodologies, and that's just one aspect of the story. But if you also looked at the hydrological impacts, which were probably
hydrological impacts,
yes, which were not factored in here.
If I could give you
let's get it clear. That is the impact on the water supply,
on the water systems, and it's not just here. Look, I mean, this forest supports the rain system, the hydrological system, for a much wider area than just that localized environment you are looking at. You could have impact as far as in Bunyoro or even across the borders in Tanzania and so on.
Right.
And not to be selfish, I don't think you would wish that you cut the forest, plant sugarcane, but you impact so negatively on the rest of the system. We have models, we know. You can have this forest removed, change the land use. And you've seen, by the way, we don't have to talk too much science. You've seen in your villages, you've cut down trees. How many streams have dried? It's a simple thing. How many streams have reduced from 1 meter width to 1 centimeter? I was just talking to my colleague the other day. People were not digging up to the riverbanks in the past. It's not an issue of breakdown of discipline, but it's because there was a lot of water on these systems, and if you had kids, you feared to dig up to the stream because your baby could drop in the water. Now, kids wash and walk in these various streams. I come from Bunyoro, Hoima, Masinde areas. I've seen what used to be big rivers, Wambale, for instance, which you are trying to get electricity out of. There's a power generation facility there. Was a big river when we grew up. Now it is a stream. Masindi, there is a river called Nyanga. It's now a stream, it's a trickle. It was huge, and nobody would tamper to move around that thing because it was a big flow. How has that happened? Because you cleared the vegetation that allowed the recharge into these systems. You know, Lake Victoria, for instance, because of what you have been doing in the watershed, the water has gone down. We talk about climate change, but we've gradually changed the climate. It doesn't happen from heaven like poop, like that. These are things we've done slowly, and we're having problems. So please, we don't want more problems.
Mr. Ezra, can you explain to us exactly, he's spoken about it in broad terms. Talk to us a little bit about what it means, for instance, for a swamp, a wetland, and for a forest. How does it, affect the hydrological systems and the microclimate, the local climate, and the broader climate?
Well, for instance, wetlands are known, first of all, for control floods. Wetlands a habitat to a number of plants and animals. Wetlands are used as breeding grounds for fish. So they are really a very important part of our ecosystem. And the forests, act as a microclimate, okay? Actually, for information. And so really they are quite an important ecosystem that really needs to be protected.
So when you cut down the forest, you'll see an immediate impact. Rainfall will...
Certainly the issues he has been mentioning, that those have happened over time, but that's part of the impact.
And how do you work out an environmental impact assessment?
Now, an environmental impact assessment, according to the law, is supposed, we have the National Environmental Act, the third schedule,
yes,
has activities for which environmental impact assessment must be carried out before any development.
Right.
Now, the law also places the responsibility for environmental impact assessment on whoever wants to carry out an activity. So basically, we have guidelines and regulations which clearly provide a framework of how environmental impact assessment is carried out. Now, the responsibility lies on a developer who has to follow those guidelines to carry out an environmental impact assessment submitted to NEMA. And NEMA, in taking a decision, NEMA does not take the decisions alone. NEMA consults widely with a number of other stakeholders and relevant lead agencies before decisions are taken on environmental impact assessments.
So, but there's that swamp that has been filled with soil in Lubiji. Yes. Was an EIA done for that?
Yes, an environmental impact assessment was carried out. That is a proposed sewage treatment plant. The law provides for use of wetlands to treat sewerage, and therefore, in line with the law, an environmental impact assessment was carried out, and NEMA took a decision to allow that development, but with a number of conditions which are to be complied with and which are being wanted.
They are being wanted by NEMA.
NEMA and other lead agencies.
Well, this is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. Should Uganda achieve development at the cost of the environment? We have experts from NEMA and one observer who has been watching environment matters. Mr. Murabira, can you take us back a little bit to Stockholm 1980?
I had this.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Can you take us to Stockholm 1980 to give us some background? Is Uganda signatory to some of these conventions? And give us some of these details.
Well, clearly, you cut me short there. Stockholm was actually 1972.
72.
The major output was the creation of the United Nations Environment Program. At that time, it basically looked at environment And through, I think, 20 years to 1992, the environment continued to deteriorate. And people said, well, okay, 72, we talked about sustainable development, but we didn't quite link the two, development and the environment. And probably this is why the environment has deteriorated. So there was another summit in 1992, the Rio Earth Summit
in
Brazil, which was a very, very big event. It was the UNICED, actually, the UN Conference on Environment and Development. This time it was in the title clearly, and they wanted to link these two things firmly. The major concern is the critical subject for tonight. Intergenerational equity, the actual definition of sustainable development, that we must do things today that don't negatively impact the future generation. It had the other aspect also of intra-generational, the issue I've raised. You don't cut Murabira and disadvantage people around you. But of course, in the economics perspective, simply the way you distribute resources. And for us, in the environment, we look beyond money, we look at all the other things that keep you alive. So, intra-generational equity, the equity within the society. And that's why Mr. Waisa will say, before we make a decision, we must get everybody participating and making a contribution and so on. Anyway, back to the conferences. So, UNICED in 1992, the Earth Summit, fed from Stockholm. In 1997, there was a review. People had learned lessons. This was after 5 years, but still not much was being done. So the UN General Assembly, actually, these are all UN General Assembly processes,
right.
Very important organs,
yes,
for global management.
You can't just sweep them aside.
No, you can't sweep them aside. Apparently, your question, we have attended, actually, President
Uganda
Museveni, President Museveni was at the Earth Summit in Rio, and he supported us.
That was a big conference.
Oh, yes, it was a huge
the Rio Summit
conference. And as you know, President Museveni has been very, very supportive of the environment. He actually is the one who started the Ministry of Environment Protection in 1986 and supported our participation in the 1992 Rio Summit. And as I've said, through 1997, then there was the big summit again to reinvigorate global commitment, the World Summit on Sustainable Development. This was in Joburg, in Johannesburg, in South Africa, in 2002. And quite a lot of achievements were gotten from there. Uganda again participated at its highest level. We have actually a national report detailing our achievements from 1992 to 2002. And as we've said, this forum we're organizing for Thursday and Friday, first of all, is to take stock. So some of the issues we are raising have to be documented and analyzed to see how have we performed against the declarations of all these summits we are talking about. And they touch on all these things: forest conservation, the development, wealth creation, and so on. In a sober and balanced way, we are going to take stock of yours. But beyond that, because this is a 20-year assessment from 1992, 2012 is 20 years, the environment, sustainable development issues, we need new political commitment, and this is why we have the 2012 summit in Rio. Apparently, it's back to Rio, and the forum we are holding partly is to sensitize and get the country to begin the journey to Rio. As you know, the theme actually is towards Rio plus 20, Uganda's roadmap. And you don't want to go to Rio with Murabira on your back, because everybody will be looking at you and saying, oh, that is the Ugandan delegation, they're coming to Rio, but they've just cut down a big forest, a big global asset. No, we don't want to do that.
Okay, apart from the broad commitments, you will be breaking any particular law or any particular, not covenant, but any particular part, because there's been talk about a document signed with the World Bank, in 2007, committing ourselves, Uganda, not cutting down.
Mr. Weiss would have the bigger detail on the issue of Bujagali and the offset. We have commitments in writing to have Bujagali but make sure we have the water supply systems. Like you just elaborate, because Murabira Forest is the recharge system. Why do you build a dam and take away the water that will turn the turbines?
Right.
Most seriously, if you continue degrading the Lake Victoria Basin ecosystem, that lake will shrink. We've seen it in Chad, for instance.
In Chad,
the lake shrunk to a third.
They had Lake Chad, actually.
Not even to go that far. Lake Wamala, cyclically, because of what they have done around it, it shrinks. We have satellite maps, images showing the lake shrinking to a third of its level, and the problems and so on. If you continue degrading this ecosystem, the lake will shrink. Owen Falls Dam will be nothing. Kila Dam, the other dam, and it's Jagali. And that's not a clever investment we'll be doing.
This is Spectrum. We'll be back after this break. Do stay tuned.
Let's show you how to multiply your savings, starting with the cash beneath the mattress to the savings in the bank that aren't making money. Let's turn your savings into somethings with Super Save Reloaded. Super Save Reloaded brings you savings and investment accounts which offer you a sure and predictable way to multiply your savings. For more information about Super Save Reloaded, ask at your nearest Stanbic Bank branch.
Stanbic Bank, moving forward.
Many have attempted to navigate essential waters of jazz and soul, but few have managed to truly make the genre their own. Few still have succeeded in going beyond the ordinary and gaining international acclaim, captivating their audience, taking them on trips, journeys of nostalgia, and leaving them looking forward to more. Join Gerald Albright and Howard Hewitt, together with a host of jazz and soul maestros, for the annual Nile Gold Jazz Safari on Friday the 7th of October, 6 p.m. at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Come on a journey into the heart of soul. The Nile Gold Jazz Safari, a tribute to the legends of soul. Brought to you by Nile Gold, beyond the ordinary.
Is your internet provider turning your world upside down? Broadband Company offers fast and reliable internet solutions. And for the first 100 subscribers this month, we offer zero connection fees. Save up to 400,000. For more information on these offers, call toll-free 0800 222 111.
Broadband Company, more than you expect.